Am I live? Yay! Awesome. Let's go figure out which page I decided to live stream from. Oh, it's always fun in my world. Alrighty. I'm just going to share this on my page. I actually started recording a video for this, and then I ran out of space, and then I had a bit of a coughing fit because I had like this tickle in the back of my throat, and then I was like, you know what, I'll just create a live stream because then I can save the video and upload it to YouTube later. So anyway, that's where I'm going. So what do I want to share it on my page. All right, so if you're jumping on, let me know you're there. Say hi, give me a love heart so I know that you can hear me and everything is working properly. Because it's always a little bit hit and miss with me. All right. So I'm just going to jump into it. I've titled this video, "What Would the World Look Like If We Celebrated Our Strengths?" Right? Thank you for the love hearts. And the reason being is my beautiful doTERRA upline leader, Leonie Dawson, gifted me the, what's it called? The Gallop Strength Finder test that you can do. Hey Ruby, how you going, beautiful? Excuse me. So it's this online little quiz thing that you do, and you have like 2 questions that obviously you got to choose which resonate the most with, and then you scale them, how much you agree with that statement. And then there's like a neutral option in the middle. And so for me, I kind of whizzed through it in about 20 minutes, I think it took, but I'm pretty sure the average is around 35 to 45 minutes, right? And so what this quiz thing questionnaire is to help you do is to identify your primary strengths as an individual. So these are the strengths that are you're innately wired with. They're a part of your personality. And the more I look into it, it is almost you have, which, you know, we label as strengths, yeah? So you get 5 of them, and then it goes a little bit more in depth, and you get to see how they provide value into the workplace. I'm pretty sure that was the reason why it was created. So for business, or if you're in management positions, you can have your team take these tests so that you can begin to identify the skills and quality. Okay, I hope I'm back on now. I just switched over to the mobile data. I have no idea which part that it cut out then. So essentially what it was created for was to identify and map those strengths in individuals so that you can use it as a resource, so that it actually provides value, that it can contribute to your organization or to relationships in a really healthy and inspiring way. And so for me, as I did it, it didn't particularly reveal anything to me that I didn't know about myself. And the reason being is because I do a lot of inner work. That's like what my whole business is around. That is what I live and breathe, is the shadow work. And I'm always curious about learning more about myself and beginning to, I guess, put the pieces together as why I do what I do. Funnily enough, that is one of my strengths, right? So I just want to share with you so that I get the correct name and terminology for it. My core strength was ideation, and then it's strategic, then it's learner, intellection, and then input. So Leonie then asked me if I had any revelations or insight to that. And I was like, oh, well, for me, it just totally validated what I knew about myself. And it also validated that what I have created my business around is my innate strengths and what I do naturally, yeah? And so that was really fantastic, because creating the Wise Woman Wisdom School is all about learning and encouraging the intellect, but with practical wisdom as well, encouraging people to seek and explore different pathways in themselves, and opening up to visionary ideas and concepts and different ways which we can create revolutionary change in our lives and in the world, and how we can contribute to changing the paradigm, yeah? And that got me thinking about, well, what would the world be like if we actually all celebrated each other's strengths. And I kind of sat back for a bit. I've just been sitting and reflecting and going, yeah, wow, like how different would that be? Rather than trying to push people into a box or into areas of work or responsibilities or jobs or whatever that obviously isn't nourishing for the soul, because we've got to survive, right? And there's so many people trapped in work that they hate, that is killing them. You know, it's not helping them feel connected to their creativity and to possibility and expansion. It keeps people trapped. And I firmly believe that this is engineered. It's engineered for a reason. I'm not going to get into the big kind of esoteric beliefs that I have around that. Maybe I will another day, because if I go on that tangent, we'll be gone for a while. That's a bit more of a rabbit hole. So I began to kind of map, what would the education system look like? So if we go big picture and go, okay, well, what would it be like if we encourage children to really embody and explore their strengths in a constructive and healthy way, so that they feel valued and that they're contributing, and it just comes through them? And the reality is that you would have more people feeling deeply connected with their self-worth, feeling like they belong, feeling seen, valued, and honored. Yeah. Feeling connected to something bigger in life, because it allows you the ability to connect with your creativity when you're in your strength mode. But it also, I guess, allows people to create that sense of freedom in what they could do. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but my experience at school, so if we go to primary education kind of gives you the skeletal structure, I guess, of reading, writing, arithmetics, all the core foundational practices that you need to branch into academia and to go through the education system, hopefully graduate from high school if you don't drop out before then or get a trade or whatever, go into tertiary education through the university or the college system, get your degree, enter into the workforce with your degree so you get a high paying job, right? Settle down, have 2.5 kids, get a mortgage, and hooray, you've made it, right? This was like the model that I was indoctrinated with, and I don't say that lightly. I was indoctrinated with because I remember this being fed through the education system when I was younger. But the interesting thing is when I got to high school, and I was always inquisitive. I always had a curious mind and ability to see things that people didn't see. Hurrah, it's part of one of my strengths, right? I have an ability to have this big picture thing. I can, create bridges and pathways between completely separate abstract ideas so that I can talk to different people from different worlds, right? I've always known that about myself, but now I have a clearer language as to what that strength is. So when high school came, so went through grade 8, which was kind of bridging on from year 7. I know it's different now, but when it got to year 9, when you could choose your subjects, right? So I went through the state education system in Queensland. I was in one of the largest state schools in Queensland, a strong emphasis on sports excellence that was totally celebrated. And then, of course, there was celebration around academia. So there was a lot of pressure. Perhaps I put the pressure on myself, being a bit of a perfectionist, to, get a high OP and to journey down the academic route. Now, here's the thing that I found really interesting and what I really challenged, and I remember having this conversation with my mum because I just didn't get it. I was so disheartened about the system dictating to me what I could and could not learn. Now, here's the thing, that our education system, and I'm pretty sure it's much the same within state education system, I'm not completely knocking it, but I think that we can do better, right? Is that you were either steered down, a few different pathways, and these pathways didn't talk to each other. You either went down the maths and science route, which led you into becoming a doctor, a science degree, bridging into technology. Yeah. Then you went down the route of humanities, language, law, social studies, all that type of thing, right? Which would probably lead you down into the channels of doing social work, doing psychology, connecting with the humanitarian side. Perhaps you would then become a teacher or explore writing. You know, it kind of bridged you down to that pathway. Then, of course, you had your sports excellence, you had music excellence. Then there was home duties, where home economics came in, so that would be like textiles and making crafty things, food, hospitality. Then there was manual arts, which would then be the bridging into getting a trade. And then you had art and design. Now, if you were creative, but also intellectual, like myself, you couldn't actually do art and law. They, on every part of the timetable, they were always grouped together, so you could only choose one. It was either or. You couldn't do both. And that just, like, it did my head in, because no matter how I tried to configure and piece together my timetable, it was shut down every single step of the way. So what the system dictated to me was that I couldn't be what I wanted to be and what I naturally gravitated towards, which were my strengths, because it, quote, wasn't what was perceived as valuable, that I could only be one or the other. Now, I chose legal studies. I didn't do art. I did design instead, because that was an elective subject, so it didn't count towards my formative studies going towards my OP. So I loved design. That was my freedom. You know, I did want to do art though, and I grieved for that. I totally loved my humanities studies. I loved going into the languages. So, you know, English was always a major for me, and legal studies. So I kind of went through the education system thinking that I was either going to be a lawyer or an architect. That way I could bridge my creativity and my intellect together. I went to university. I realized that I didn't want to be trapped into a 5-year degree to do law. So I decided to do a graphic design degree instead. And I dropped out halfway through. It didn't fill me up. It didn't challenge me in the ways that I needed to grow. And so then I ended up kind of going on my journey, spiritual journey, started to travel, which then fulfilled my need for seeking and learning, which is then relating to one of my strengths, is acquiring knowledge, learning new ways, learning to expand my perspective and my horizons in the world. And then, you know, kind of go on this journey, and I find myself here in this moment as an entrepreneur that is creating a wisdom school. Of course, this was always the journey, piecing together my life so far, like looking back, going, why did I experience that? And okay, everything is contributing to provide value. And I wonder, what would happen? What would happen if we allowed the freedom and creativity for children, or even for you now, to be celebrated for your strengths, to recognize them, and to begin to realize that this is a part of you, an innate gift, a skill, a quality, your blueprint, what you've been encoded with to help contribute towards creating a really beautiful world. Imagine if we celebrated these strengths and people were honored for these innate qualities that they had, rather than being squashed down into this narrow construct of what they think they should be doing, or doing things to provide an income. What if our society created flexibility and encouraged people to explore those strengths? How many new revolutionary concepts and ideas would we have? How many new inventions would we have? How many new models for regeneration, sustainability would we have? How many new models for education, for relationships, for creating this inspiring change that when I connect with most people and they provide the space to really listen, is we know that this current reality that we're in, Like, yes, it's great. There's some incredible privileges in that if you're privileged, but then there's other people that aren't. And I think, and I believe, and I feel with the depth of my being that there's a better way and that we can do better. And after kind of journeying down through revealing these strengths or having that validation of things that I already knew in myself, which, by the way, is incredibly powerful when you have something validated, because it steps you out of going, oh, maybe I'm just a little bit crazy for thinking that, and maybe I'm just tooting my own horn, when it's actually in your face to actually know this is what you do and you do a bloody good job of it, so keep doing more of it. Imagine that world. Like, just stop and think for a moment. Imagine if we all chose to invest in amplifying our strengths and in celebrating our strengths and having the courage to explore them and cultivate them in a deeper way so that they're more ingrained and embodied with integrity and presence. Imagine then the value that we would all be contributing to the world. Because when we connect with that part of ourselves, which is, it just flows through naturally, and when we claim it and own it, it just is what it is, then it creates flow. It kind of allows you to kind of feel into this groove. You're just like in your zone of genius. Yeah, it's like, this is actually what you were encoded with. And if you do connect with spirit or God or something bigger, then there's a reason for that. And that allows this opportunity for you to explore creative ways that you can put it to use to create depth and meaning in your life, in your personal life, to contribute towards your family, and to contribute towards your community and helping your community thrive. And the reality is that there's so many people disconnected from this, disconnected from what we would say our purpose, disconnected from these innate skills and qualities and strengths that we have, that are cultivated over time, that are seasoned and matured on our life's journey. And that when we begin to reflect on that, we realize that we all belong, we all have a place, we all have something to contribute. We are all valuable, and we all have this deep sense of belonging. And I hold the vision, as I always have. Now I've just got a clearer language to shape it, this feeling, this vision that I've always had, is that I hold this vision for this incredible world that we are all co-creating together. And that gives me the drive to do what I do in my work, and why I give so generously, and why I'm helping to share things that have helped me on my journey, because maybe they're going to help you too, which then helps the next person, because I believe that we can do better. I believe that we can create paradise on earth, and that we can look within the construct of the problem and shift our perspective a little bit and start to see solutions within that. But it takes courage, and it takes grit, and it also requires you to consciously choose every single day to see that in yourself and to invest in yourself, to receive the acknowledgement for it, which can be really hard, particularly if you find yourself on your journey where you keep getting the same feedback from people, and maybe you're like, you question it or you doubt it. It's just like, we really don't have the luxury to continually doubt ourselves anymore. If when you look at the big scale world that most of us feel so hopeless towards changing, because it's like, it feels like it's been hijacked, it's like, well, you really need to start realizing that you're pretty powerful and you're pretty awesome, and that you have some amazing expressions about you simply being you, that you're born with, that you're life experience has shaped around you for you to be who you are in the world, with all your stories and all your wisdom and all your pain that you can then alchemize and transform into medicine for other people. And a big journey in that, which is, I speak with a lot of the shadow work that I do, is actually claiming it and owning it and embodying it with confidence. And that confidence doesn't mean that you come across as cocky. It doesn't mean that you try to overpower people. It just simply means that you know who you are. Yeah, and you embody it, and you can walk clearly. You can walk through the world, choosing what you want to experience in your life and how you respond to your world and what you seek to create and the change that you wish to be and embody. Okay, I feel like I've been dropped now. For those of you that are new to my live streams, whenever I kind of open up and have these these dialogues, these downloads, as I say, as I kind of feel myself open and the words are coming through and I'm hearing things for the first time sometimes as well, like I'm learning as I go, and then I just feel like I'm like, okay, we're done. and then I'm out. So I'm out. I hope you've had a beautiful equinox, and depending on whatever you celebrate over the weekend, whether it's Easter or you're celebrating the light and dark, the death and the resurrection and the rebirth, or you're just tuning into the beautiful blue moon that we had, wherever you are in the world. If you've watched this far, thank you for your time. I would love to hear some feedback or some insights that you may have gathered from this message. I would love to hear from you, and I would love for you to chime in on this conversation about how you can see the potential for us encouraging the strengths of each other, how that can actually begin to be a revolutionary model to completely change the paradigm that we're in. And I would also love to hear your strengths. If you have done that test and you know what your core strengths are, I would love to hear from you. Me, one of those strengths being the learner and the input. I'm always acquiring new information, which is why I love to connect with people, and I value feedback and I value hearing your stories, and I love when people share their experiences, because it helps me to learn vicariously through your journey and your stories as well. So much love and many blessings to you. I hope you know that you are a beautiful and wonderful and magical, inspiring person.